You go back.
Well, I hit watch now. Mine didn't do nothing.
And it's gonna share to everyone?
To your page.
What did you do?
This
Turn it down. Mm-hmm. Now it's online. All right.
So then if you want to say something about it.
All right, go ahead and say something.
Isn't it right here?
Yeah, that'd be commenting right here.
I need to send this one to other people.
And so if you want to do that, like this.
That's what I wanted to do.
Something like this.
Is that the link?
See.
I think so.
So right now they just watch live, or would you do the share?
Okay.
So if you go back at it, if you see it, go back
Here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right, that's it.
Like this. This. So now you can
Okay.
go to it.
Anybody?
There you go. There you go.
Okay.
See how it showed up?
Okay. Awesome.
what did y'all do?
Mhm,
It's other
mhm,
people.
mhm.
We almost there, y'all.
Yes, we are.
Go back.
Oh, excuse me.
Mhm.
Oh, I don't think I did the link thing.
Okay. Now if you want to text it to like post on the phone,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
you just do it that way.
All right. Yeah.
Remember I was telling you how that dust was just messing up my allergies? Man, this still got me. Just
The dust coming over from
Canada.
Canada.
The smoke, yeah, it got me.
You think you before my time was sister Fatima.
Mhm. She lives in Flint.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good to go.
Mhm. Just about. Hmm.
Peace and blessings, everyone. Peace and blessings.
Yes.
We can definitely tap in. Uh, Welcome back. We are definitely live in the studio. Getting a few things lined up over here. We got a phenomenal broadcast today. We'll be talking about sustainable solutions.
Yes, yes.
We'll be introducing Miss Nanette to the reintroducing as a Flintstone to the community. She's back by way of Atlanta,
Yes.
doing some great work all around the country. So we are excited and elated to just kind of talk and just kind of see exactly what type of activity we have going on, what we can do as it relates to delivering sustainable solutions, not only to the residents of Flint, but for the culture. So you're tuning in to Fli-City Blackout. My name is Dwani Robinson, and we're going to definitely roll down the line. So then that way we introduce ourselves and when we give like a brief descriptive of some of the things we're engaged in.
Okay. Would you like to start with me?
Of course.
Absolutely. Yes. My name is Dr. Nanette Shillingford. I'm better known as either Nanette or Nanette. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
Yes, out to the A. I don't know how detailed you want me to go in the description. I know we'll get that during the conversation, but just in introducing myself, I am out of the ATL. I have a love for STEM, agriculture, and environmental science.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Wonderful. Why don't you give in the STEM? I know a lot of folks know what STEM is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you add the A in there.
Yes,
right?
yes. The A can mean different things depending on what the institution is and what their focal is. It's for science, technology, engineering, and usually art and math, but it also, the A can be for agriculture as well. So most people are familiar with the STEM principles, but yes, I'm pretty much an expert now in STEAM as well.
Wonderful.
And A, yes.
And we're going to dive into more of what STEAM is and what we're going to do with that A. Right?
Okay.
And then, making sure folks are very knowledgeable of what's coming down the line here.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome. Of course, I'm really Brother Reggie, right here in Flint. You all know me with the Flushing Professional Suites, a nice hub for small and upcoming minority businesses. There are principal businesses there too. It's the home, of course, of Napton's Gold and Flint Intake Center, the water crisis law firm, where we also help to make sure people will receive compensation for the devastation that happened during the water crisis. And also went to Flint Northern, and and so a Flintstone in that sense. And we just are here also representing Newell Undergrowth and Roots and Development Group and the various different ventures that we're involved in to make sure that we're contributing our part to the growth and development of the Flint community.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir, man. And you both are very well spoken, and I see Chris Humphrey is saying shout out to the family.
Yes, shout out to the family. Yes,
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. Yes, appreciate the support.
Appreciate you, Chris, for tapping in.
Mm-hmm.
So let's dig in, right? So
Yes.
we've been having a nurturing conversation as it relates to where we are here in the city and some of the things that we're looking to get engaged in. I know like Brother Reggie is involved in entrepreneurship, business, micro businesses, and just supporting the development financially here in the community, right? Brother has a number of buildings here in the city, working with a number of entrepreneurs that's actually operating out of the buildings, and really kind of helping them actualize self and stand on their toes, right?
That's right. Absolutely.
And then when Miss Nanette was talking about STEM, right? When you're talking about having these different hubs, right? You're talking about agriculture, you're talking about harvesting our own food, you're talking about development, right?
Yes.
One thing that we need to take it back to is nurturing ourselves.
Absolutely.
And we don't have those type of setups in our neighborhoods, and we always depending on landmark with the old meat and all this other stuff going on, right? We are not, really kind of finding ourselves. We're not, being connected to the higher power, right? Because food play a big part, right? Your nutrients play a big part.
Absolutely.
Right? And so, that's why a lot of the vibration is low around here. So we need to make sure that we get back to those standards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So tell us, right? And
Okay.
where we are in the city. You come from Flint.
Yes. Okay. I didn't get to throw that in. Yes,
Right.
I am born and bred Flint, Michigan. I am a product of Brownell Elementary, Holmes
Yeah.
Middle,
Indeed.
Northwestern, and then I graduated from Central High School. So I am a
C-Town, what?
true Flintstone.
I'm from C-Town
You're from
too.
C-Town too. Okay. Okay.
That's the big house.
All right.
Mhm.
So for actually the last 9 years, I've been afforded an opportunity to work with a charter school. That's
Okay.
where a lot of my hands-on learning has come from because I was given the autonomy
Mm.
to develop the STEM school, help them get STEM certified, build an agricultural area there where we have animals, we have livestock now, goats, chickens. I actually had a bull at one time. That's a story to tell. But the focal point for the children there, and there's also a greenhouse there
Okay.
with the aquaponic system that's inside. We have a greenhouse aquaponic system, 2 500-gallon tanks,
Oh, wow.
different species of fish. And my children went there,
Mhm.
and I was in corporate America. I stayed home with the children, and then I started working with the school, and the science bug hit me. And I wanted to pour back into other children to learn about this STEM and STEAM. So
Yeah.
what when you talked about sustainability and how important it is with agriculture,
Mhm.
with STEM and STEAM, that kind of falls under the science of STEM, but it also flows through the technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. But the kids are learning about production,
Mhm.
how to produce poultry, the difference between whether or not I want to raise chickens to sell the chicken and the meat,
Mhm.
as opposed to if I want to continue producing eggs. That's the difference between a fertilized egg and a non-fertilized egg. The students learn about balancing the systems of the aquaponic system. Also, we're trying to get into production with that, knowing how often you need to plant the seeds for rotation,
That's right.
the different types of plants that will thrive inside of an aquaponic system. Um, Develop something that's called black gold. Most people who do agriculture be familiar with that. That's when you're pouring nutrients back into the ground and you take soil that's not good and it turns it into what's called black gold because it's a nutritious,
Mhm.
rich soil. So we've done that. Now, in addition to that, we started there, and then I used to watch the Magic School Bus. I would say this as an educator, and I got really excited about it. And I said, "What if we had a bus?" So we ended up getting a mobile bus, which
Okay.
is now a gutted out classroom,
Mhm.
and we started going around in the community first to daycares. And the target market was children maybe between the ages of like 3 and 5
Mhm.
to plant seeds in them, looking for a harvest at a later date.
All right, now.
To expose these kids to complicated concepts, to make them less intimidated about those concepts. So, and there are students that I train and mentor, and they are the facilitators that go back and teach the young children.
Come on now.
Right. So with
That's
all of
sustainability.
that's sustainability.
Okay.
So with all of that excitement and doing all of those things, that has actually matriculated into now we have something that is called Steam Land. So from the inception of 2 chickens down to bull, cow, sheep, whatever you call it, all types of fish and aquaponic system,
Mhm.
we now have schools that visit the charter school for an on-site field trip where we are now, it has been directed. I was by myself and created, but of course the school. I have to give them the credit as far as giving me the autonomy. But we now have something that's called STEAM Land.
All right.
And other schools are able to come to our campus and also explore the things that the students on our campus explore every day. Yeah, that's a
Okay.
mouthful.
That is definitely that's sustainability.
That's
Yes.
sustainability.
You know,
Yes.
we talk about going from A to Z. We have to not only just teach it but apply it
Yes.
to make it practical. And then
Mhm.
now you said something that I like. You said a bus.
Yeah.
So that suggests that this could be mobile.
Absolutely.
And so, this is something you can put your show on the road.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about land. So is this a product or a project that you have any intentions beyond
Mhm.
that may be able to come to an environment like this?
Absolutely.
which needs to be here, right?
Yes. I thought it was so wonderful when I connected with you guys to find out some of the wonderful things you guys are trying to do in Flint. And because my heart is still here and I am a forever Flintstone, the passion for doing this is I unapologetically wanted to give back to our community, to those underdeserved areas where kids may not be exposed to that type of content.
Okay.
So, and that was where the passion for the mobility came from. Because if you can't come to me, I'll come to you.
All right now.
And yes, with the mobile devices, the goal and direction is hopefully to get even a couple or a fleet of RVs where we can go out into different communities, different underserved areas, as well as schools, in order to impart some of these STEAM principles back into the students that are there.
All right, because I think I heard you say the target market being like daycares as well, so young children.
Yes.
And so I thought I heard an opportunity for a place other than just a school.
Absolutely.
That you can actually take this to daycares.
Yes.
Right.
And in these underserved areas to make sure that they get exposed to complexities like STEM.
If you allow those students between the ages of 3 and 5, that's when they're really young, and they absorb a lot of the information and are retain that information. One of my goals is to again take those complicated concepts that a lot of people are intimidated by. And if those kids learn early and hear some of those words, when they actually go into the actual school system, they won't be so intimidated by some of those concepts because they've already been exposed to them prior to entering the educational institution.
So that's preparation.
Yes.
Which also leads to sustainability. And we have to, I'm a firm believer that we have to start with the youth.
Yes.
We don't have to wait for the public or private school system to pour into our children what we need to be pouring into ourselves. And that's self-sufficiency and sustainability. So on your hydroponics and your what type of stuff did you aquaponics?
Yes.
What type of did you grow?
Well, okay. And the difference, just to tell between hydroponics and aquaponics, the difference makes the fish.
Okay.
Something called the nitrogen cycle. You feed the fish, they excrete waste. That waste becomes the fertilizer that's inside of the water.
Okay.
And roots get there, absorb the nutrients through the roots. It's an awesome process. You just have to know how to balance the system, the correct fish that you want to use. But what grows best and can grow frequently in an aquaponic system are a lot of greens, depending on the type of system that you have.
Okay.
We do a lot of herbs and spices. We do a lot of lettuce. But actually, this is when I take it to another level. Some people may shy away from it, but I do not, because I want to expose the kids in our community to knowledge. I made sure that we're to grow tomatoes.
All right.
This is a school, but the tomato plant is sister to the cannabis.
Oh, wow.
So some students who are interested in being growers so that they can provide the cannabis for medicinal reasons for hospitals and doctors. I want some of our children to embrace that, to learn the science behind it for the need.
Yeah.
All right now.
Yes,
Now let's
yes.
tap in with that, because I know when you talk about cannabis and marijuana, folks start thinking everybody just sitting on the stool smoking weed.
Absolutely.
Right? But the thing is, there is some medical purposes.
Medicinal purposes, absolutely.
That can really help out. And then there's also a financial gain, right?
Mhm.
So for all the brothers, man, that got locked up, man, for serving a half ounce for a pound of weed, right? Listen, we should be looking at how do we get that social equity and that social enterprise for cannabis,
Yes.
right? Growing it ourselves and then also putting it out there for folks in need. Right?
Yes, absolutely. And I always make sure I like to preface that, because my interest would be more so, again, for illegal medicinal purposes. And again, someone has to know how to grow.
Yeah.
And so for some of our children to even know the science behind it, just opens up a door to another option for earning.
Income.
There you go.
That's right, because we have to become more than just master consumers.
Come on now.
We have to get ourselves in the game of producing.
Yeah.
And we need to teach entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Oftentimes, you'll see an educational system we're prepped and taught how to get a job
Yeah.
when we need to be prepped and taught how to create a job.
Absolutely.
And that's always the educational complex where we taught to be workers. We never taught to be in front of producing or addressing need or concern.
Yes.
Right. And all too often we are very creative people, right? We'll take something, remix it, and then they make money off the backs of what we do. How do we put ourselves in a sustainable situation we make and do off of some of the things and activities we engage in?
I think again, educating and giving the kids more of an option. I know right now that we live in a STEMified world. Just about everything that you can do to pass something STEM and STEAM science.
Right.
And educating our students and making them less intimidated by it. If I could throw this in there, I always say I'm steaming in stilettos. Because one of the target markets that I want to enhance or encourage to not be intimidated are females and women, to know, that science and technology and engineering is not just a male profession. So I think that's where we start. We start by a lot of these areas. A lot of our children are afraid of mathematics, or they think technology and engineering is this hard, difficult thing that they cannot do. And that's again one of my desires, is to go into our communities and show them with these phenomenal brains that they have that a lot of this information is not as intimidating as you think it is.
Absolutely. And I totally completely agree, because they take smart devices and work around them. If I already locked out on the phone or something like that, it's normally the kids I can call, and with they just get in it.
They can cite it for you on a whim. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the exciting part about the mentoring portion of, and again, I didn't preface to say the 9 years that I've devoted into the school of doing it, I've had an opportunity to hone and improve my own skill set, to where I have created STEAM sustainable solutions. And one of the things with that,
Now what's STEAM
sustainable
Tell us a little
solution.
bit about that. Is it an organization?
It is an organization.
All
It
right.
is a nonprofit organization, and we have our 501c3. Yes, we do. And I'm so excited because, if I can say, it's an honor to be sitting next to one of my board members here, who is also definitely a mentor for me. But with STEAM Sustainable Solutions, again, the focal point is to start with the daycare. We have developed curriculum for K through 12 as well. Another portion is to do professional development for teachers. We like to go out and train the teachers, because that's really where it starts. We also want to do community things with parents. So you've got to educate everyone so that we can go back and kind of feed it to the kids. So it would be the mobile classroom, where we can do on-site field trips, but we also will come consult with your school depending on what direction you want to go in. And we can develop your program and offer the professional development that you need as well for your staff.
Absolutely.
I think that's very appealing. When you're talking about coming in, creating programs, and taking it right to the students, right? I think it's some ideas that schools and institutions here need that, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a conversation that definitely can be had to see how we kind of implement those into the curriculum for schools.
But when you asked me a question earlier, how I do it, and I will say this: it's a buy-in. You have to have buy-in, and when I say buy-in, you have to have buy-in from the community as a whole as well. I think one of the wonderful things is when you say bringing it back to Flint, discovering those areas where there's a need. And going and supplying that need could be a wonderful thing. I'm actually here now doing a little surveying, looking around. I haven't been here in a while in my great city of Flint, Michigan. And it is my intention to be here, to be an integral part of making that happen somehow, some way. So that, because Flint was a great place to grow up. I love my city. And I want to come back and pour in it and give it back. But again, it starts with the buy-in, meaning that everybody in the community has to do a little bit. There's a saying that I like. It says, if everyone does a little, no one person has to do a lot. So when you build gardens and you build a greenhouse and you place an aquaponic system in there, and let's say you get some livestock there, it's going to take a community of people to keep it going and maintain it. It's not something you can just put up and just leave it there. But what happens is the harvest, and everybody benefits.
That's right.
You're able to feed the community. You're able to feed people who are unable to feed themselves. Not to mention how important it is. I heard you say something earlier that we learn to cultivate and grow our own vegetation. Because if you watch the news the other day, I don't know that I want any of that pretty stem cell made whatever kind of chicken that they're talking about they're going to start making now. And there may come a time, because knowledge is power, where you want to raise your own chicken, your own eggs or your own vegetation. And oftentimes we look at it as like, oh, that's just a little country something. No, not at all. It's a huge industry with a lot of money to be made in it as well.
And I think let's take a question. I know we got a lot of flow in here.
Okay,
folks is tapping in, pick up your line.
Okay.
So one of the questions is, how do we create the schools to career pipeline to urban agriculture, agribusiness, and other sustainable growth sectors?
And I'm gonna let her finish the question, but I want to start by saying this. That's a very good question. And part of Flint's so-called master plan is to shrink life. So a bunch of houses are being knocked down, and there's a lot of lots. And I think that's an opportunity. That's an opportunity to deal with urban agribusiness a little bit. And when I say urban agribusiness, we ain't talking about starting urban farms, but I think it's an excellent opportunity for something like a STEAM, Sustainable Solutions, to be able to pull up one of these mobile trucks on some lots and maybe have a place that children and local organizations can bring their children to. So I'm just saying that as a framework to answer that question in a very realistic way, to say that you have somebody like Dr. Nanette who have all this information, all this knowledge, and then have workable experience from taking it from just theory into actual application. Like you have created a program, ran and maintained it for over 9 years. Now it's time, I believe, to transplant that and duplicate that and to any town USA. And Flint, it could be one such town because of the direction of Flint's master plan. We need to do something with this vacant land. And so we're discussing how we can make this something that not only can be, you can go and talk to the schools about it, but like the question, how can you take this from, I believe the brother said, from career to application in essence. And that's to create a project physically in Flint. So I'm gonna throw that out in the atmosphere. That's something I believe should be physically in Flint. What you're doing down in Atlanta for the charter school, not only can be something that can be brought to schools in Flint mobilely, but I think it should be a piece of urban land that stuff, whether it's a aquaponic tank that needs to be built on some property, whether it's some lots that might need to be fenced in with one or two of these goats, but not to appear on people's cars.
No, not to appear on cars.
So you have to make it, there might have to be some zoning things, but I don't want to get off into the weeds. But I just simply want to say, this is something to the questionnaire that the question asked that is something that we're talking about.
Yes.
I think and that was a good idea.
I think that was an excellent answer that you gave.
Talking about pulling up, purchasing some of these vacant lots. We have a amount of vacant lots here in the city, which we can kind of quarter them, right? Maybe we talk about rezoning, how to put those applications together, but then bring in a school bus right there on the site, having small animals over there, whatever the case may be, and then kind of lay out some plots of lands with different crops be taking place. And kind of take a field trip. We can actually make that a field trip for the schools. They can come out and learn, but then also the daycare process. The daycare, right? I would love as a kid to be around some animals, of course, and being able, right? And just really kind of learn about it. But not only just that, but then yeah.
to see the harvest from it.
Come on now. Come
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's in the doing.
Yeah.
Reginald, it's in the doing, because once you put it on one of these vacant lots and it's there, and you start maintaining it, it will grow itself. You know, and one of the parts that I do really like is that the youth mentoring portion of STEAM Sustainable Solutions, because we can use students from even 8th grade to high school and even other college students who are interested in that industry to come in and get hands-on experience. I would love to be able to train some of them with my team, for them to be the ones to maintain it. So that's how you keep it sustainable. That's how you expose it to other African American individuals who may want to do this as a career. Because I heard career, I thought, how do you take this as a career? And some of those people who have an interest in that can become a career for them, and it can become both profitable and sustainable.
All right.
Yeah.
I think you both answered that question. Right? If we want to create some pipelines to urban agriculture and agribusiness, I think create agriculture by planting the harvest, but then also we can be able to not only provide food for a block radius where we live in the area, but then also make some proceeds off of it.
Absolutely.
That's dope, right? That's how we all about that. I got another question for you. Bring up another one. Jonathan said, what things are set in place for upcoming innovative businesses? Put you up open line for that. What things are set in place for upcoming innovative businesses?
So when you say things set in place, I'm thinking you're meaning what, to maybe like assist in development of innovative
or
businesses,
what's already existing.
What ideas may be kind of brewing? Like what ideas may be brewing? And this is from Jonathan. I know.
Okay,
Good
Jonathan.
question,
That's a
Jonathan.
very good question.
Because we got to be innovative. I think that's where we move. So, what type of ideas or concepts are we thinking innovatively to create business for Flint?
So you always have to look at the market.
Okay.
First of all, you want to create innovative businesses based on need. And we're taught, especially if you study business, whether it's at the high school level and especially in college, we think of supply and demand. We're taught to always or the manufacturers create whatever is demand. But there was I never forget, Albert Says, he was an economist who actually had a theory of whatever it is you want to offer, you create a demand for what you're going to supply. So in being innovative, one of the things that defines America is small business. You think of the big businesses all the time, but small business, and I take it a step further and say micro business. For example, say you were very good at looking stuff up on the internet, then you might be able to create a research service for yourself. You might be able to do research for individuals or companies, or even a little small, like mine. I service attorneys. One of my businesses services attorneys, but I have to find people all the time. And whereas before we'd have to hire Matlock or Colombo to go and find somebody, a private investigator. Now, through technology, you have programs that you can download, and if you're good in interfacing programs, you can find the people for it. Then you might be able to make a marble, bang, or a bead. So I just use that as a small example. In addition to that, you have like SBA. You have groups out here. You have the Black Chamber, the National Black Chamber of Commerce, and then we need a line on that, and then we need to create our own innovative directory of micro businesses, 5 people or less, 1-man operations, as well as non-micro business directories, so that we can interact with each other. See, business to business services in the urban community is not developed at all. And we look to the chamber to network people together to do things. We need to have some type of forum, some ongoing format to do that. And the good news is with technology, like what Fli-City Blackout does, and 810 Media and different media, local media sources, we need to be able to encourage us to network our ideals together, to make our business to business. Because if you're real good with a spreadsheet, I might not be able to hire you full time, but I may be able to contract you for a project to come in and get some things done for me. Right. So when he talks about what innovative services do we have, we're gonna literally have to create them. In my opinion, there's some existing things out there. Part of that is going to be micro business networking. And that's something. What thought you had?
I was listening to you because I said the innovation will definitely have to come from finding out what the need is first.
The need.
You know, when you find out what the need is, then you can be as innovative as you want, but you have to know what the need is. One of the things I was thinking about with innovation as well, I don't know why, even elderly people, another way of providing for them as well is just another idea of innovation. But again, you have to look at what are the needs, you know, who's really going to buy in to this period. Because I keep using that word because you can have all the greatest ideas and innovation in the world. But if the community does not buy in and everyone doesn't participate, it's going to be a struggle to keep something going.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that too, because when you talk about sustainability, folks sustain it, right?
Yes.
So when we have these ideas and these businesses popping up, micro and small businesses are operating in the community, we have to understand that it's up to us to support it.
Absolutely.
Right? Even when we're talking about this innovation that may be potentially coming here to the city of Flint, we have to find ways to support it. Right. Let's see how we can go ahead and put our dollars into maybe some fundraising efforts to be able to go ahead and actualize this project, and then we sustain it by keeping it going. And everybody play a role in it. I think we got to start learning that we are each other's crutch.
Yes.
And like when we understand that, and we believe in that. And I know we had a series of conversations about what we need to do as far as what we gonna do. Right. Direct. Right. We got to start stepping up, right? You know what I'm saying? We got to start owning it, right? I love the co-op that's taking place with the food store. Right? Yeah. That may be an avenue where we can be able to put our produce in the store, right? Now you have business to business, it's all urban, right? The young people may have harvested this fruit, now it's in the store on the shelves, and we buying it, right? There's got to be those type of pipelines coming down, right? We can't just say we want these things without putting no action for it.
Yeah, and another thing that I'm thinking of, another pipeline or another thing to even consider, because just sitting here myself and coming back to Flint and seeing, what's going on here and how I can come back and make a difference just in my visit has excited me. And I know that there are other stones that are in other cities and other states, getting the information out. There are other people that perhaps their parents still live there, live here, or their relatives still live here. And again, it was just something that was in my spirit because this is my hometown and my stomping town. We have so many people in different industries. With different expertise. If they're aware of some of the things that are going on to Flint, I believe that they will, if there's a way that they could come back and make a contribution to make things better in Flint, they have that skill set in some kind of way. I'm confident because I know several personally. Chris Humphrey, who's watching right now, it was phenomenal, but and has so much intelligence and smart, and could come back and feed into Flint. A lot of people know, and I'm going to just throw a few names, but again, like Michael Gatewood, quite a few people know him in the area. Those are just individuals, just to say a few names of people that I know if they knew that there was something positive going on in Flint, where you're trying to develop it to make Flint a better place to live and to revive us from a lot of the, I'll even say with the water crisis. I wasn't even here to go through that, but I grew up in Flint. So this is prime property. It was a wonderful place to grow up. I was here prior to General Motors leaving. So it was thriving. It was a great middle class place to be, and there was a lot of history here.
That's right.
So I know what you once were, you can definitely go back to be again. So it would take those same people that lived here that still have an attachment to Flint and connecting to them to let them know what some of our plans are. And I strongly believe that they will come back and contribute.
Even if you don't live here, and even if you don't live here, you from the city, right? You are a stakeholder in this city.
Absolutely.
That's right. So you can work from afar, work remotely, right? I think when we were talking about GM, them was the glory days. Like when everybody was working, and then my uncles had like 2-3 Cadillacs.
Yes, everybody had a Cadillac or an Eldorado or something.
Doing their thing.
Uh-huh.
But then also when we talk about sustainability, when that thing left, right, everybody was left picking up the pieces.
Yes.
So we should have been thinking about electrical cars and stuff like how we could go in and run on water. Right? We go to city or vehicle city. We should have been thinking about long term, not 30 years, but 100 years.
Yes.
After that, 300 years. Right? That kept us in position. So I think these are the times for us to really kind of reboot, right? Take the time out to think like, all right, what worked in the past, and then now how we're going to create, a sustainable solution for the future moving forward. But in that way, we'll be handing this down to our grandchildren be taking on to this work, and then they will build on top of this. One of the things that I did learn when I was in Egypt, man, you learned about how the kings or the rulers at that time, they built the temple. Mm-hmm. The temple was, as long as that person was in power, that temple was continuing being developed. Then when that king or Pharaoh went down, right, the next in line, whether it be the son, they call them famblers, or the next one in the lineage, right, his job was to build on top of that temple, right? So before you got the temple stretching all across the land. Right? Because you had generation after generation after generation building on this. I think when we're looking at the concept of Flint, we have to accept where we are now, right? We are a city that has been bamboo transition. We have, problems with our educational system, problems with our water, problems with trust in government, right? And local policymakers, right? We have to look at it like, okay, how do we restructure ourselves, change the mindset?
Yeah.
And saying, you know what? We're going to develop a plan together, right, with everybody who's a stakeholder that believes in the future, and we're going to follow this plan on out, and everybody do their part, right? Even if it's starting small, we just started we build a foundation right now. So we have that right now. You got single folks doing great things, but when we're talking about collectively, we just don't have that. It's so fragmented. How can we start changing the way that we think towards each other? The way that we start saying, all right, we're going to plan. I'm gonna start trusting, even if I ain't trust you before. Mm-hmm. Even if I couldn't deal with you, go ahead. How can we start saying, all right, well, we're gonna trust around with it, right? Have ideas, right? Build a plan, right? And then execute that, right? And that's gonna be our day in, day out. We're not gonna waste time on what was, we're not gonna waste time on, who is this and why is this person this? We're gonna say, all right, what, we doing this for the generation coming because we know they need it.
Absolutely.
We know them young people talk about youth. We know that they don't care about too much of what's going on right now. Our children, grandchildren, right? Nieces and nephews, they just need some action. They need some stuff. They need some stuff to build on. They need something to live by. And I think that we need to build that bold island, and we need to have some structure to build so we can actually be on.
So whether it's social, whether it's business, especially in business,
gotta be
you, what you're talking about to me sounds like, come on, y'all, let's stand on what we have in common and not what we have in conflict. Oftentimes, we won't even deal with each other because we might have one or two things in common. Yeah. But we have 3 things in common. Come on. So one of the ways you do what you said is to stand on what you have in common and not in conflict. We have to learn how to go among all this noise and all this haste and remember what peace there is inside us. Yeah. The difference between functional and advanced movement and spinning your wheels oftentimes is how you perceive things. I can't control the person's perception, but if I operate off of critical thinking instead of he said, she said, a word on the street, a lot of times we move off of he said, she said, word on the street, which is not factual. It can be, because I can say potato is out of 25th person, it's potato or shoelace. So if we approach each other, critical thinking means to know. So we should operate on what we know, not what we heard, number one. And then we should stand on what we have in common. Now we talk about principle, foundation things. You use the term foundation. In Flint, everybody in Flint that is low income and poor, and according to statistics, is over 50% of Flint, still should have the aspiration to at least own where they live.
Right.
Own where you live, because if you own where you live, that's legacy wealth 101 that's passing down the house
To somebody.
to somebody.
You can't
So
pass it down to an apartment.
and to have some insurance,
Because
because some homeowners insurance and some personal insurance. Yeah. Because if I tip over tomorrow,
right.
I don't want you to have a GoFundMe to bury me.
Absolutely.
Come on,
I should have enough insurance to pay off some of my bills, and to pay off the cost, and maybe leave a barbel bang or bead for my children,
Or someone.
or my wife or my family. So when you talk about foundation, the first thing came to my mind was, all right, Flint has something unique, Michigan, in these land banks. There was a time in around 2007, 2008, you could go to the land bank with $500 and just your driver's license, and they would give you a land contract for the house. They might only charge you $12,000, $13,000 for the house. So now you only paying $300 to $400 a month for a 3-bedroom house, which is unheard of when you rent it. So we should step up to Freeman and say, hold on, bro, all these houses you putting out here on this Every Monday program, you need to encourage renters, people that are working for, but they're renting. They ain't on Section 8. They don't get subsidized money. They make right at the borderline where they can't qualify that, but they still working poor. Give them an opportunity to buy a house on land contract. They can fix it up themselves. Just let them get $5 down. Everybody got to put a little skin in the game, but you should be able, with all these houses that are available out here, if your goal is to put them back on the tax roll.
All right.
And then we network on how to sustain the house, financial literacy. But it's not just financial literacy. We have to do critical thinking. We have to deal with communication. What is one-way communication? What is two? Caves, how to conflict resolution. So caves is, I learned this. I'm going to share this with everybody. So the word caves is clarify. The A is acknowledge. The V is validate. The E is empathize. And the S is summarize. So when I clarify, okay, Nanette, you're saying that we should be able to go to the land bank and pay $500 and get a house, right? Yes. All right. So then I acknowledge that, that might be something good. I don't have $500, but I acknowledge what you're saying is good. And let me validate that what you're saying is something that could be a foundational thing to get people from being renters to homeowners and paying half of what they probably paying in rent, if not less. And I'm gonna empathize with that, though, even though I'm not in that situation right now. I have a house. I do empathize that that's in that other people in me should be able to. Then I summarize by just repeating it. When we learn how to communicate like that, we take a lot of conflict out of the game because and then I'm all over the place, but I want to shift and say this. You said not dealing with people from maybe some past issues you had with them. In business, you know what makes the deal work, or the trust. You use the word trust. You don't have to trust me in business, because we're gonna have an agreement.
Mutual agreement.
See, we're gonna have an agreement, and it's gonna be in writing. If you don't do what you're supposed to do, then I get to get that. So in business, you have a contract. If we have a contract for you to wash my car, here's the agreement. You wash my car, I'll pay you $20. And so that's the promise. An agreement is a promise, an acceptance, and a consideration. So you promise to wash my car for $10 or $20. I agree to pay you $10 or $20, and the consideration is the money. So that's the agreement. If we shake hands on it under Michigan law, that's still an agreement. Now what happens is you don't wash my car and it'll rain. And as soon as you ain't even through putting up the bucket and it's raining. So I come out on the porch and be like, yeah, bro, about that 10, whoo, you have to come back have another day when it ain't raining, because it just rained. But I shook your hand to paying you to wash the car. You say, well, Reggie, I know you like to play, cousin, bro, but I just washed this car. I ain't got no control over nature, and that wasn't a consideration in our agreement. I have to come up off that.
Come on now.
Even so that's how
you got to respect it enough to be able to come up off that dollar.
That's right. And not make it a problem. And now more complex agreements have ways to remedy problems. But how you deal with trust is through the agreement.
Yeah.
I mean, I love for us to get back to a space where our word is our bond, because that's really your best credit card. And I've lived in times where my word has failed. And I can tell you in hindsight, I don't ever want to be that person again. Today I strive to make the distance between what I say and what I do one and the same. So if y'all see me, I'm trying to close the gap. We want what we say and do to be one and the same. And so, you know, when you talk about trust, that's a very uncomfortable situation for a lot of people. But the trust is in the agreement. When we're doing business with one another, we can't always ask for the hookup. The trust has to be in the agreement. Come on now.
Now, with all that said, what's going through my mind, I thought about was sustainability. You also have to have commitment, dedication, and patience.
Okay.
You know, everything is a process. And oftentimes we want everything like microwavable, and we want it to happen right away. So those are some of the things I think, even on the onset of trying to put something together, that you have to know that it's going to be a process. It may take some time, and you have to stay committed to it.
Okay.
You know, whether it's jumping off quickly as you wanted, or it's taking a little longer than you thought that it was going to take, to just see it through to the end, and knowing that it is a process.
That's just like building credit right now. I'm going credit. I ain't gonna say credit, but building. Yes. I want that 800, like your brother over there, man, tomorrow. I'm trying to go get some things, but you know what I'm saying? It's a process, and you got to put the work into it. Right? To be able to get to that point where you want to be. So,
absolutely.
Don't think things happen overnight. Even building trust with folks. I know it's right tough, right? You know what I'm saying? Don't just dead it, right? You know, put the work in, try to make sure that it's some of my part. Because at the end of the day, we got to look in the mirror. We're responsible for ourselves. Like I'm saying, I acknowledge I did some things. Even myself, I know I said some things before my past, like they didn't mean nothing, right? And so, you know, for folks to trust, right, they have to see it in you. Right?
Yeah.
You know, we have to start learning. Hey, listen, you know, if we can get back to that. Just, my word is my bond. You can trust me with a handshake. You know it's gonna get done. I think that's the realest thing that we can be for each other. So, and that's what we're working towards. So we looking at it as a new wave. We looking at a new vibe. Right? Yep. See the new Flint back here, like, you know, we talking about a new way of going about business, a new way of outlook of creating this robust community. Right, we're doing it, we're doing it for real, and I think, you know, that's what we need to be in. So this conversation is enlightening, it's refreshing, right? And I know folks out here is just very excited about what we gonna do here in the future.
Absolutely.
Yes. So if y'all wanna drop some lasting memories, right? We'll be coming back, right?
I definitely will be back. This is just the start. Of a long process of something that I'm in for the long time.
That's right. We definitely look forward to sustainable solutions, having a thumbprint.
Absolutely.
Being able to come and bring some of those skill sets to Flint and share them with the community. And I'm definitely looking forward to doing my part to help Dr. Nanette and STEAM to have a presence here in Flint and to do something there. And so I thank you again for the platform, and to be able to, anytime we have, and she'll be modest about it, an accomplished person with a great body of work, that's from Flint. Come on, come and share some of her time and some of her energy with us. I think it would have been a missed opportunity if we didn't bring her onto a powerful platform like this and allow people to know your hometown people is out there doing it, and they're willing to come back and import some of their talent back home and helping the development of Flint. So sister talking about importing some of her talent back here and sharing it and developing some young people. So what I like about STEAM and what Dr. Nanette is doing is they want to make sure young people are poured into with some sustainable skill sets that can allow them to go in all kind of areas. You're talking about science, technology, engineering, agriculture, and math, and the A, as she said, is interchangeable with the arts. And so,
like the arts component.
The arts
I know you
component,
do,
yes, it
artistic
is.
vision.
Yeah, you know, because a lot of times when they think of the arts,
yeah.
like even if a lot of kids are now into the industry. They
Okay.
want to be rappers and
Yeah,
they want to be models and they want to be anything. But there is yes, but there is the engineering of the stage.
That's right.
That you have to have. There's art in picking out the costumes and the design of the actual platform itself. So it can really get deep, and there are a lot of opportunities within STEM and STEAM that's a plethora of opportunity if our kids start learning the content and the skill set and the principles that come along with STEAM. I'll say I can't get off of this great line without saying, you know, as far as an educator.
Okay.
And I will say this, I will be remiss to not say it. I'm not making this a religious thing, but I'm thanking God for the vision that He gave me, and I asked Him to work through me to do something so magnificent and powerful that every day I wake up, I know that it's impossible that it's not Him.
That's right.
And so so I'm thankful for. It's funny. I come from a family of educators.
Okay.
My mother is a retired teacher out of Flint, Michigan. Yeah, her name is Maxine Davis. Miss Maxine Davis, and she taught for years. My aunts taught, and I always said, "Never me." You know, never me.
Why the kids always be like, they do anything not to do with
yeah, but you know, he told me to go back and give. You know, why sitting in first class think you're really doing something? You don't sustain yourself. I sustain you.
Come on now.
And he showed me that probably about, honestly, 15 to 20 years ago.
Okay.
And when he showed me, he has not stopped carrying me. He has not stopped guiding me through. And with everything that I'm saying and doing, I always ask that His will be done and that He continue, because it's His plan. Because at the end of the day, only what you do for Christ is going to last, and that's a belief of mine. Not all may believe it, but I am truly a believer.
And let me just say about that. On the I believe in I'm a believer, and I also believe in Taib, or the oneness of God. I believe that whether you come up the mountain from the east side, or somebody else walking up from the north side, or the south, or the west, I think it's good spiritual logic that is only one peak. So I don't care which way you walking up the mountain. I believe there's one peak. I'm not afraid or ashamed of the gospel either. And so I stand more firmer on that, because I agree with you. That's my substance.
Absolutely.
But I don't discourage nobody.
No.
Who also are monotheistic and believe in the oneness of God, and they walking in that way too. Because again, I don't have no heaven or no hell to put nobody in. And I believe that, you know, I also believe that heaven and hell is a state condition. I believe that if I'm hungry as hell. Or if I'm cold as hell. And but so I believe that the hell is also a state condition. That while we on this ground and around, we can do something about it.
Come on, man.
And so I don't believe in no abracadabra, focus, mystery God. I believe that we can make God come alive through us. Come on now, Sister Nanette.
All right, now let's not.
Listen, the God and the Spirit lives within you.
That's right, brother.
I always understand, like, we ain't gotta wait to heaven to live on earth. I understand, like, why we want to wait until those times. Like, I want that.
But you know something we did not talk about. I still say back in the innovation and how we can get. It's unfortunate that our churches were the pillars in our community.
Right.
You know, you can
the
say what you
places
say.
of innovation.
Yes, those were places, and that's one of the areas that I wish we could get back to. What are the churches to come together and bring the community together as a whole? Because as far as I can remember, I don't know any other entity that has been able to keep a community together at a given time. It's unfortunate I see with COVID. A lot of us don't go as often as we used to go. And it's not even the building itself, even though it is the building itself for fellowship, corporate fellowship. And some type of way, I wish that the churches could communicate in some kind of way to help bring the community back together as well.
The good news of what you're saying is, believe it or not, after Daddy Bush, not the son George Bush, but the daddy, interjected something called faith-based, and they were able to preserve the separation of churches and state, but allow faith-based funding to happen. Because a lot of these churches was like, well, you know, I'm not going to participate in this, and y'all let the people lay over here with the goat, and I got to do all. So faith-based nonprofit stuff is real. For example, at New Jerusalem, that's a Center of Family and Youth, the Kofi Center. Now that's a separate nonprofit entity based out of the church. So today, churches can actually create their own faith-based nonprofit organization to be able to integrate services with community and keep up with the change in times and still preserve the autonomy of the church. So what you're saying is something that's actually really more possible than we think. Yeah. We just have to network through that. And I'm thanking God, even if you know, and I mentioned my church because I know this is something that's been doing in the community. Anybody that's in the community drawing money out of the community, any business that's in the community drawing money out of the community, it's not about a big shakedown. It's about parity, what we talked about earlier, reciprocity. Nobody should be allowed to come in the community and draw money out without the thought that they got to put some money back in. And we don't have to always go through the nonprofit industrial complex, although we appreciate them and their structure. We should, as micro organizations and businesses, be able to go to these people, not as beggars, but you know, and I use beer and wine as an example, you know, because you got Ryan over there on Lapeer, you got the Fambino brothers, you got J.P. O'Sullivan. All these beer and wine people are drawing 17, 20, $26 million a year out of Flint, just dropping off 40 ounces and 22 ounces to corner stores every morning. Those same businesses, the good Reverend Doctor might not be able to go to them and say, hey, could you support our church program? But Steam Sustainable Solutions ain't gonna have no problem saying, hey, bro, let me get that 40-foot camper fund up off you. Now we're gonna put your name on it in exchange for getting it. So there's some things we can do with the people in the community that draw funds out. That's the socio-economic side of things. We're supposed to be able to go to the hunters and gatherers that are drawing resources off of master consumers. Because Flint is a community of master consumers. The majority of people in Flint don't own nothing. They don't, but they consume. So when the money go in their hand, they go right back out. They're master consumers, but there's power in consumption. So you would think Flint is poor, but Flint people are spending millions and millions of dollars every week on products and services. So how do we tap in to that spending and circulate some of those dollars back into the community? Not just through the barber or the beautician, because we sure enough gonna get our hair cut and get some lace fronts and lashes and stuff like that.
Can I throw a little bit of a monkey wrench in there? And I say it's not even really a monkey wrench, just from our conversation earlier today when we were talking about pouring back into our community. And I remember my 99-year-old grandmother, before she passed, I asked her, I said, Grandma, you know, why do you think everything is like it is? And she said one of the worst things that could have happened with us was integration. And she didn't say integration for the fact of we need to be in our community and we got to drink out of a different water fountain and sit in the back of the bus or anything like that. But it was from the perspective of when we ran away from or pulled ourselves away from our own schools, our own businesses, our own restaurants. We stopped taking care of our own communities because we thought that we were moving to something better. And so now in our communities, it's a misconception, and we trusted each other more than. I say it a lot of time because I know even on this live feed, and I'll say this unapologetically, I wish we had a platform where we could talk to each other and only talk to each other sometimes privately.
Get underground black
something. Who was I was telling you earlier? Harriet Tubman. We need an underground something. You know, a meeting spot. You know how we used to do it in the hymns. You know, because I think every year every year we always say, oh, we're going to boycott these people, we're going to do this. Well, we already told them what we're going to do, so they're expecting. So they said, well, next week it's going to double the price to get our money back, and or raise the price for the people who are coming. So if there was a platform where we could speak to each other only, goes back to that foundation of building. We do have to learn to trust in each other. Trust in the Lord first. I'm gonna say that.
That's right.
Put that in there. But no, seriously, that's serious. But we have to learn to trust each other. And what we were talking about on the news today, we have got to take these scales off our eyes and see what is actually happening, even with the ruling today. The affirmative action thing, you know, for people to even understand affirmative action itself was implemented because things weren't being done the way they were supposed to be done.
Right.
If it was equitable, there wouldn't have been a need for affirmative action. But affirmative action was put there because you weren't doing what you were supposed to do right in the first place. So I fear that if we don't wake up and we start strengthening ourselves in our own communities, this affirmative action can go further than just the college itself.
It's going to go further. They're rolling it all back.
Yes.
All the advancements that we have made, they're going to roll it right back because why? It's preserving what they have, right? They feel like earlier, population growth.
On the other side, right? What did you say? Cold versus heat? You said we're not going to do something in the cold, but it's not until the fire hits you when we start reacting.
Well, most of us will not change because we saw the light. We're going to change because we did the heat. So unfortunately, this is a form of heat building. Yes. And I have mixed emotions because I know you're not going to get the needle to move and people to move until there's deprivation in some cases. Because most of us don't, and I personally testify, I didn't change in my life because I saw the light. I changed because I felt the heat. Yes. And so it was only in the feeling that I then got off of being a card carrying member of the Can't Get Right. And getting myself together. And so you guys are absolutely right. We suffered from self-hate. And so integration wasn't what we thought it was going to be. And the mindset of integration was we thought that let's just say raw. And let me just say this as a disclaimer. I can be pro-black without being anti-white or anti-anything. But we thought white folks' water was wetter, and we thought white folks' ice was colder. And so we wanted to hurry up and run up out of our community to somewhere else. And soon as some of us get a marble, bang, or a bead, we'll be turning around more disgusted than white folks. And we'd be looking at each other like, look at them.
Absolutely.
Look at those people. You know, I mean, we worse than doggone oppressor. Steven on Django.
You just talk about playing
not the Django. You don't get on that norm.
Man, tell me, I don't know. The brothers just have like that crisis. We pray for the brothers. We pray for those folks that get in position of power. They just change them. Right? But they just toot their nose up. They don't know.
Saying that we don't need affirmative action.
And the flip side of that is too, we cannot accuse and charge every person in our community that so-called make it or that's fight. And they elevated, they isolated, and in the war room working with these folks with no allies. And then they turn us and we call them every Uncle Fester, Uncle Ruckus in the book, and we don't really know their story. So sometimes you gotta be very careful because as we said, even during slavery, in the kitchen, we had some house folks that was grinding glass. You understand? We find it in sugar, and they was handling business from another perspective.
Come on.
So in the war of the ability to come together, we have to understand if anybody, no matter where you at, can be an ally and play their role. So we shouldn't so loosely think that because a person made it, now they the open enemy. And then that same person, as soon as you get through from the rally calling them the open enemy, you're gonna call them and be like, hey, bro,
can you get a job? Get some money, get a job. Absolutely.
You know, I see it happen every day. You know.
I think I'd like to repeat again, though, that we have to become more comfortable with also as African American people, which you said for me to be pro-black does not make me anti-white. And I think a lot of people fear and they shy away from that because in their mind, that's what they're thinking. If I'm supporting my community, I'm saying, you know what I'm going to say? I might get X'd out and they never want to come to stable solutions. But I'm so ready for us to take some actual action.
That's right.
To actually do some things.
Yeah.
We march a lot.
Yeah.
We get on TV with the signs and we've been singing Kumbaya for how long?
Yeah.
Let's treat your neighbor just a little better. Let's just
Some
kind of
basic
help
stuff.
out and
That
go
would
get
be
some
stuff.
groceries for
Treat
somebody.
yourself a little bit.
Treat
better.
yourself a little bit.
value
Yeah,
yourself
because they
first
have
of all.
made us not love ourselves
Yeah.
on a huge level. And so we got to kind of start there.
Yeah.
You know, we really do. We have to. What do we have to start doing? I think I learned on Sunday. We got to start circumcising our own hearts. I think that's what we were taught, and looking at ourselves, and as we better ourselves, it's going to trickle down onto our children.
That's right.
Our grandchildren,
Right.
our great grandchildren. So we gotta try to look in the mirror and kind of better ourselves as well.
Yeah.
I think in this whole plight of thing, learn to trust each other.
That's right.
Let some things go. I think I look at, and I'll say this, it's honestly true. Even in the corporate world, because I was in the corporate world at one time, and it was so disappointing. I'll say this for sisters. And most Black women that are in the corporate probably can appreciate and saying this. Oftentimes we get on the elevator and we don't even speak to each other. We look straight ahead. Wait till she talk. If she don't speak, I'm not gonna speak. And I saw a long time ago and won't do it. But you know what I said? Because I said I'm gonna do an experiment. And I did. I promise. That was in my head. I said I'm gonna make it do an experiment. And every time I got on the elevator, it still happened. I was saying, hey, how are you? Your hair should look nice. And we would just have a conversation. That's all it took. That's all it took. Somebody has to initiate it. Yeah. Somebody has to drop the guard. Somebody has to say, I'm going to trust my folks again. And it has to kind of break the ice to start there. So what were you going to say?
No, you flowing. I like it.
Yeah, it's just some of those things that we have to do again to work on ourselves as individuals. See how can we start in our own homes. How about treat your kids a little bit better? Maybe you treat your neighbors a little bit better. Just all those kind of things. And I probably could give a million examples of. But my husband said one time, which is true. That's why I said it's a process and time. He said we were in slavery so long. He said, baby, it may have been, 100 years or so, 60, or just not 60 years ago that things we were dealing with. So he says it's going to take that much time to reverse. So that goes back to that patience and that process, that we have to be willing to have the patience to go through the process.
That's right. Y'all making me do math.
We're gonna make a vow, right? And take it day by day because it's a process. Yes. We're gonna promise ourselves to treat ourselves right.
That's right.
Value ourselves.
Absolutely.
You gotta value yourself first before you can value anybody else. It took me sitting in the OCJ facing 715 for me to realize, you know what? I can't be doing people wrong. I gotta do myself right.
Yes.
I want to do my children right.
Yes.
And I want to really make a change. Those things start with you looking at yourself, right? And your actions. I did that experiment. Every day I come out, I get excited when I see one. I don't know what you walk around the street, whatever the case, right? I'm geeked up. It's excitement that brews up every time you see folks. So it's like, we gotta start treating each other right. So one day at a time, let's try to do ourselves better. Let's do the people around us better.
Absolutely.
Let's do our community better, right?
You gotta start telling these kids they value.
And as adults,
they got to see it in the adults. If I see my people acting a nut all day, I'm gonna come up acting a fool.
Yeah. The best thing we can be is an example, and we have to start coming. We come together in unity under food. We come together real quick. Party. We come together.
For funerals.
We'll look up to kill some. We the first to kill somebody and rob. We won't run in the ground like to kill nobody. And I'm not saying that for us to do it. I'm just simply saying we're quick to kill each other, and then not want no accountability on killing each other, but we'll want to hold somebody accountable if they sell us the wrong sock and they Black. So, but you said something very important. Whether it's 1619 or 1555, whichever year you believe we came slavery in the Smithsonian Institute. There's a document that say on a ship called Jesus in 1555, in the hull of the ship was slaves. So then that means we're in slavery for 308 years, and we've only been out of slavery for 160 years. If you go by 1863, or if you go by Juneteenth, we only been out of slavery 158 years. So if you drop a ball and physics say that ball can bounce at least the height of what you bounced it, we haven't even, as you were saying earlier, been out of slavery. And when the chains was taken off our body, when they took the manacles that the chains is tied to off our legs, and the shackles and the chains off they did not take the chains off our brain. We were freed. F-R-E-E-D, which school teacher, you know, is the past participle of the word free, meaning our freedom didn't come about by our own free will in the court, but it was conferred upon us. We was freed up. We wasn't free. And so we still suffer from the chains and psychological images of slavery. Dr. Reginald Samir down in Clark, Atlanta, and he came up with a definition that's being examined by the American psychological community. It's called caucophobia. And caucophobia is the fear that blacks have of whites. And one sister wrote the book called PTSD, post-traumatic slave syndrome. These things are real, and there's no remedy at law to change these things. That's why we must still advocate until we did for complete reparations, not a socio-economic plan, but complete reparations. 40 acres in the mule with income compounded for all of the descendants of slavery paid today. America really don't have enough money to give it to pay the reparations that due to us. So we shouldn't be paying no taxes. You understand me? And we should be still giving what y'all. If y'all can do a stimulus, they created trillions of dollars out of thin air during COVID to pay folks stimulus checks. So don't tell me you can't make it happen. But that's a different soapbox for another time. Y'all almost pushed the button. I know we got to wrap this here thing up.
This is good. I'm into it.
We're gonna be a whole lot of 2 hours. Let's go ahead. We got to definitely. We're gonna bring this conversation back because, of course, this is sustainable solutions, right? We're gonna definitely have it down about the progress of
sustainable solutions.
Absolutely. And we're gonna keep having a conversation about cultural building, because I think that's what we're talking about now. We're talking about foundation, we're talking about strategies, we're talking about healing from hurt. And I don't even we even took the time out to heal. Like you said, it ain't been but 110 years before we came out of slavery. So it's gonna take that much time for us to heal from it.
Absolutely.
But we need to do this, we need to take the steps to heal too now.
That's right.
We gotta really be soul searching and really healing. So we're gonna come back with all that. We're gonna have another conversation. We're gonna delve deep into next steps, activities here, Flint. But we just gonna have good brothers, just a good conversation, right? So I appreciate that. Y'all struck a chord. Me, I'm ready to go work. I'm ready to go treat my family right. I'm ready to go work. Go talk to my kids, tell them how much I value them.
Absolutely.
That's right. So, man, listen, I know I'll be hard sometimes, but listen, I love you on everything.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
And it's important to
It's important for them to hear that.
Yeah, real talk. I just want to definitely, I guess, be an example, starting with myself. So
Absolutely.
So I appreciate y'all. And,
Yes.
This was definitely a good conversation. Wonderful meeting you, buddy.
Same here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, girl, you coming back?
I will. I'll be back for sure.
Bet. You know, Brother Reggie always on deck, right? I appreciate you, brother. Always on the down. Always big step, right? And always staying true to his word, man. So we're going to keep at it, right? You know, appreciate everybody who tapped in. So once I get a chance, you can check out the road and see what folks are talking about on the
Okay. All right.
Make sure y'all like,
share, subscribe,
absolutely.
Fli-City Blackout.
Yeah. And we're gonna be back with another segment here really soon.
All right.
Absolutely.
So man, definitely. So peace and blessings. Brother Reggie Davison, and you got a sister Nanette
Shillingford.
Shillingford. Okay, that's the name right there. Definitely, and we appreciate y'all.
Doctor.
Yeah, let's get that.
Put that respect on it.
That's right.
I like that. Thank you. Yes.
And definitely everybody who tuned in. So we appreciate everybody. Continue to keep locking in. Fli-City Blackout, like, share, and see you on the next one. All right.
Thank you so much. Yes. Okay. Yes.
Thank you. This was wonderful.
This was very good.
Thank you so much for coming.